Hello from South Carolina, and welcome to Drones and SC. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the DJI Phantom 3. More specifically, we're going to talk about the DJI Pilot App, which is the app that you use on your tablet, phone, or mobile device to control the camera and to update and control various settings on the quadcopter. Now, there is some basic documentation out there on the DJI's website and a little quick start guide that should have been included with your DJI Phantom. But there's still a lot of information that's lacking in those documents. So I took some time to figure out everything, and I think I've got things working pretty good now. So let me share with you what we found. So the very first thing that you want to do is make sure that you have a current version of the DJI Pilot app. Now I have an Android device, and the last time I checked, the version of DJI Pilot of the app that's on the Google Play Store is not the current version. So your best bet is to go to DJI's website and go ahead and click support. And from there, scroll down to your product, which I have a Phantom 3. Go to downloads and scroll down to the DJI Pilot app. Now, with your mobile device, you can either scan this QR code or on your mobile device, you can click one of these options to download. Since I have an Android, I would click Android, and that's going to download an APK file, which once that's installed onto your Android device, just run your installer, and you'll then have the current version of DJI Pilot app. Now, if you do not have Wi-Fi or internet capability on your mobile device, you can download it on your computer and then transfer it through a USB cable to your mobile device. So once you've got Android version 1.1.0 installed, let's continue on. Okay, now that we have our DJI Pilot app installed, let's go ahead and run it. Now, one thing you need to make certain of is that you, on your tablet or mobile device that you're using, that you turn off your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. If you leave those on when you're connecting to your quadcopter, to your Phantom 3, you could have some interference in the Pilot app. It may not work correctly. Alright, so let's go ahead and run the app. Now, once we run the app, you really can't do a whole lot within the app until you've connected it to your controller and turned on your Phantom 3. So I click the camera button there, and that'll bring me to my control screen, and let's go ahead and turn on the Phantom 3. Now immediately that's going to bring up your status screen. And if you're ever on a different screen and you want to know how to get to the status screen, just hit this top button right there. And that'll bring you back up to your status screen. And that shows you, this aircraft status light shows you the same it's a reflection of what the status light is on the aircraft. That's the warming up light. I have current firmware. If you need to do a compass calibration here, it will tell you that. If you do have it inside and you're around metal objects, it may say you need to calibrate the compass. That's normal. Go ahead and if it's the first time you've ever flown it, yes, calibrate the compass. Be sure you do it outside. Make sure you're not carrying a phone or wearing a watch or have anything metal around you. And you'll just hit the calibrate button here and it will give you directions on how to calibrate. The flight mode screen shows you what mode we're in. And default out of the box will only let you do the GPS mode. You have to enable, turn off beginner mode to fly the other modes. And I'll show you how to do that later. Remote controller, we are mode 2. Which is what we normally fly in the U.S., where our left stick controls our throttle and yaw, and our right stick controls our pitch and roll. So that is definitely what we want. We have a aircraft battery status, remote controller battery, temperature, and we can see how much space we have left on our SD card installed on the Phantom 3, and we can format it from here if we want to. Alright. So I'm indoors right now. I do not have a GPS lock. That's why it says safe to fly non-GPS. So let's go over some of the other screens here. Again, the home mode, or the home button, will take you to this screen here. Camera is how you control the Phantom 3. Director, it's a basic video editing program that you can throw some video together that you've captured with your Phantom 3. Store and User Center, these are not going to work correctly unless you're actually connected to the internet, which you can run. You can turn on the internet, of course, but I don't recommend it when you're flying the Phantom 3. All right, so let's go back to camera. So So we talked about the home button. We have a GPS lock now. Oh, we did for a second there. It's going back and forth. But let's go to this button right here, our mode button. And on here, this brings up the flight controller settings. And all on this left side takes you to the different options. And you can get here from multiple different ways. For instance, if I hit the controller button, it automatically takes me to the controller section of that screen. If I hit the video button, it automatically takes me to the video link section of that screen. So however you want to get to it, it doesn't really matter, but let's go through what you can do on here. So on the quadcopter control screen settings, you can control your maximum altitude. If you want to change it, just type it in there. Maximum is 500 meters. If you want to turn on a distance limit, you can. You turn the slider on and enter in your distance. If we wanted to enable beginner mode, that's automatically going to put an altitude and distance limit on there for us. Let's go back here. We'll turn that off. Your gain and expose, that's an exponential setting if you want the controls to work exponentially. For example, you want the throttle response to increase, to get faster as you go up in throttle or down in throttle. You can adjust it there. You can also adjust the sensitivity, how quickly you want things to change when you make the controls. So if you want it to be slower in controls, kind of like a slower rate, then you can do that as well. And you can address all your gain settings here. If you're not an advanced flyer, if you haven't flown radio control, then I highly suggest you leave these things alone. Going on to the radio control section, here on the gimbal speed control, when I adjust the gimbal, this is fast, and that's full travel. I can also just move it just a little bit, and you can see it's going to go slower. But if I want to lower the maximum rate that gimbal travels, so let's say we'll take it to 20, that's maximum travel, and that's how fast it's going. So that's a nice thing to have. For your image transmission settings, I've left this in auto and I've had no problems. I did try it in custom. You can pick a certain channel of Wi-Fi based on your location. This graph right here shows you what's going on with the different channels, what the links look like, and you can also adjust your image stream, your bit stream, to different settings. So a higher megabit would be a better image, but your theoretical maximum distance for that would be much lower because you have more bandwidth. But I just leave that in auto. Your battery status, you can adjust here what you want your battery warnings to come in at. Low battery warning defaults at 30%, critical at 10%. This shows you the current voltage of the battery, how many milliamp hours are left, what the capacity of the battery is, how many times I've charged it, individual cell voltages, and this battery life 100%. That doesn't mean what the current voltage is of your battery. That means that's a lifetime display of your battery. So as you use your battery more and more, the capacity is going to go down on it. Right now, the battery is brand new. It's only been charged 8 times, and it's saying the capacity is 100%. It's a brand new battery. Also, with the smart battery, you can program in on here how long you want it to take to discharge. The smart battery does not leave the batteries fully charged. It discharges them over time, and you can adjust that based on what you pick here. And you don't want to leave LiPos fully charged because it degrades the life of them. So that's why you have that option there. For your camera settings, I had a lot of people ask me about what the difference between FPV and follow is. So follow is going to be your traditional gimbal controlled camera. It's going to be gimbally stabilized. It's always going to try to maintain the horizon level. With FPV, this kind of simulates what it would be like to fly an FPV aircraft, and it gives you an additional cue when flying to show what direction you're turning. So for instance, if I go to the right, if I yaw to the right, roll to the right, then it's going to simulate what it would be like in an aircraft rolling to the right. And if you go, if you yaw to the right, that's what yawing looks like. And if you roll, that's what that looks like. So that would just be for different FPV experience, kind of a more traditional fixed wing experience. Just additional visual cue. You can center your camera here. Now adjust gimbal roll. When I first got mine out of the box, my gimbal was several degrees off axis in the roll axis. Now, when you first turn on the aircraft, you definitely want it to be on a level surface so it initializes properly. One other thing that I'll cover here in a minute is even though I did that, my gimbal roll was still off, and I was manually adjusting it here the first couple of flights to make the tilt back to 0. Later on, I did an advanced IMU calibration, and that cleared everything up. So it's perfect right now. If you find that your gimbal roll is a little bit off, you do have this manual adjustment that you can do, but the very first thing I suggest you do is find a level surface and do the advanced IMU calibration, which takes a few minutes. You want to make sure not to touch it. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And that should clear up everything. And then if there's any minor issues when you're flying, you can bring up this screen and you can manually adjust your gimbal roll there. Okay, since we were on the topic about gimbal problems, let me go ahead and show you how to do that advanced IMU calibration that I was talking about. So go ahead and select your quadcopter, go to Sensors, and that's going to bring up a screen here that shows what your accelerometers and gyro is doing. All you have to do is click that IMU Advanced button, and it'll take a few minutes, and as it's going along, it'll show you a progress bar showing the status of where it's at in the calibration. When you do this, you need to find a nice level surface, and you need to not have any vibrations. Don't be walking around the quadcopter, and just leave it sitting for a few minutes until that is done. Once that is done, if you did have a gimbal problem or the aircraft itself wasn't quite flying just right, 9 times out of 10 that will correct the problem. Let's see here. What else do we have to show? Gimbal auto calibration. If you hit that, that'll just go through a gimbal calibration setting, and that also may help center the camera if it's a little bit off. And for your advanced settings, right now, if you see, this is how far my camera can go down, and this is how far it can go up. If I turn up this 15 degrees extensible, that allows me to bring it up just a little bit. So that may be something you want to do. If you're flying, if you angle it up like that, you're normally going to see the props, but maybe there's a certain shot that you want to see that. And the neat thing here is that you can store configurations. And this one also does the gimbal speed, just like on that previous menu we looked at. It slows it down. I'll turn it back to 100%. You can store different configurations here. For instance, if I want that one to be a slower gimbal, and I want this one to be a slower gimbal, but I want to be able to look up too. Then I don't have to sit them every time. I can go to the screen and just hit whatever configuration I want, and it's going to load that configuration. And then finally, we have the other screen. We can set our units of measurement. Here in the US, we use imperial. For file index mode, this is the number, the naming convention when it saves your videos and JPEG and RAW files. So continuous means it's going to keep on adding. You take a picture today, it's 1, 2, and it keeps on going on and on and on. Reset, every time if you pick reset, every time you fly, it's going to start out with 1. I like continuous because that way I don't have to worry about overwriting files or having files with the same name. Show flight route, that's going to show you on your map screen where you have flown. If you hit clear, that will clear where you have flown. Cache locally when recording, that will store a local copy on your Android device of what you have taken pictures of and what you have videoed. So that's really cool. And if you click on the tutorial, all that does is when you first bring up the screens, it shows you what all of these different buttons and status indicators mean. Again, that's pretty cool. Alright, so let's talk about this bar right up here on the top. The bar The green light, or the green line, shows you right now that we're at 95% power. And if we were to continue flying, this bar is going to keep moving down. And then once we're in the yellow, that's a battery warning. And then once we're in the red, that's critical battery warning. And when you're out flying, this little H here shows you what the battery level would be if you flew home from that point. Up here on the top of the screen, near the top, this shows you currently what the camera is doing, what the ISO speed is, the shutter speed is, how many pictures you can take, what mode of pictures we're doing. Right now I'm doing JPEG and RAW. And AE, if you click that, that's going to lock your exposure setting for a certain point. For example, right now I'm in auto exposure, and if I click anywhere on the screen, it's going to adjust the camera settings, the shutter settings, based on where I've clicked to get what I want. And once I like it, I can hit lock, and it's going to keep that no matter what I do, no matter where I look. It's going to keep those settings. All right. Continuing on, this is the auto takeoff button. This is the auto land button. And then we've got our moving map. Now, one neat thing that I found out about this is I do have my internet on right now. But if you zoom in to where you want to fly, it's going to cache a local copy of that map data. And then when you're flying, you don't have to have internet on. You already have it stored. I found out that to make this work, like for instance, this is where I'm at right now, and it's already downloaded this. And if I turn off internet and I turn off my unit and I turn it back on, this map data is still going to be there at this level of detail. I could zoom in, but the detail would not be as good. So what you want to do is, wherever you plan on flying, and you can see it's loaded, it just updated that information, that map data just got better. Zoom in to the area that you want to fly to ensure that you've downloaded the highest quality image for that area. And then when you go flying, you'll have it there, and you won't have to have internet connected, and it'll work fantastically. These buttons here, this can center either go to your home position or your aircraft position. This changes the direction or orientation of your map to north up. This can pick your layers if you'd rather look at a standard Google Maps type image or a hybrid image, which shows your roads and features, or just a straight satellite image. I usually keep it on hybrid. And also you have your radar display, which shows you where your Phantom is in relation to you, which can be used as a tool to help you fly back. And other neat things you can do on here, you still have the auto takeoff and auto land, but you have this thing where you can draw an area. Now this is not going to command your aircraft to fly that route. This is just for your planning purposes. So you can say, you can set up a route. You could sit here at home and figure out where you want to fly if you want to film a certain thing, and then it will be available to you on the screen just like this to give you the guidance to manually fly that route. And then we can go ahead and clear that out. So on the bottom here you also have some telemetry. Let me turn that off. So this is your aircraft height based on above ground level from your home point or takeoff point. This is how far away your horizontal distance is from between you and the aircraft, or excuse me, between the home point and the aircraft. And this is horizontal distance between you and the aircraft if the home point and you are different. Vertical speed, how fast or slow your aircraft is going up or down, and horizontal speed, which is your speed against compared to the ground, your ground speed. Let's see here. Now I can also do my radar. I think we talked about that. And then we can go back to my camera image. Now, one neat thing that I've done, we have two function buttons on the bottom, and I've programmed it where I can easily, while I'm flying, I can easily switch between a camera view and a map view. And the way that you do that is we go to our control settings, and right here, C1 and C2. I have C1 set for reset gimbal yaw, which this is what that does. I have switched between GS and FPV, which is your ground track, your map, your moving map, and your FPV. I could also change it to these other options: camera setting, reset gimbal yaw, switch gimbal mode, clear flight router, battery info. And that's really all there is there. The last thing, or last couple of things we could talk about is this little guy right here in the camera settings. So, for camera settings, function, if you bring that up, you have a lot of control here on how you're taking pictures and video. This picks how I want to save my videos, if I just want a RAW file, a JPEG, or a JPEG plus RAW. Now, many of you probably already know what the differences are, but if you don't, a JPEG file is a little bit compressed, and it's basically like, if you remember back in the old days, with film, you took your picture to be developed. Well, this is like a developed picture. It has some processing, it's had some color adjustments done to it, so this is like the digital equivalent of getting a picture developed, which is mostly what you'll probably deal with unless you're a professional advanced user and you want to do RAW files. I do both, JPEG and RAW, so that way if I have a quick picture I want to share with a JPEG, I can post and share that. RAW files are not processed at all. They're not compressed either. But what this means is you're manually developing the pictures. So you have to have the adequate software to do that, such as Photoshop, and you're doing all the color corrections and white balance adjustments you want to do, which is fantastic. You can do some great things with it, but it takes time. And if that's something you want to pursue, by all means. But it's a little bit above the scope of what we're going to talk about today. But anyway, I do use both. I save both so I can do some further post-processing if I want to. We can do our image size. 16:9 is a pretty much standard that we're going to use for high def. For white balance, again, that has programmed white balances in for various conditions, and you can also set up a custom white balance, and there's your color temperature right there. For right now, I'll leave it on auto. Your video size, I'm keeping it at our standard 4K and 30 frames per second. If I wanted to change it to 1080p, 60 frames per second, there we go. But back to 4K, 30 frames per second. Style, again, this kind of goes with JPEGs and how you want to how you want the camera to do some processing on the image for a JPEG file. Basically, this just adjusts some contrast options, sharpness, and saturation. Color, again, for the JPEG files, if you want it to have more vivid colors, this is basically just going to turn up the saturation for you. Or you can do a logarithmic curve, black and white. It's got a film filter. I just keep it on none. Now, histogram, that's what this little thing is down here. It comes standard with it off. You definitely want that on, and you can move this thing wherever you want it. I usually keep it right here. Again, some of you probably know what this is, but if you don't, a histogram basically gives you a graphical representation of what your camera is seeing. Now, if you see right here, this EV0, I'm not doing any exposure adjustment, but as I move this switch, right now I'm adjusting the exposure adjustment down, and you can see that graph is moving down. The lower you go in the graph is the darker colors that you're seeing. And as you go up, you're getting more into the white. And then I'm going to get, that's as high as it'll let me go here, but I'm overexposed. So in auto, it's going to be, EV is going to be at 0, no exposure adjustment. But if you wanted to lighten this image up, I could flick this wheel to the right, and that's going to crank up the exposure just a little bit. You can also see my exposure time is getting longer there. And if I go the other way, it's getting shorter. It's a shorter exposure, so it's less exposed, it's darker. The neat thing about the histogram is it can show you whether or not you're over. It's a tool to help show you whether or not you're overexposed or underexposed, and what your camera is seeing with a graphical representation. I believe that's all we have in the function options. Oh, nope. We have all these here. So if we wanted to do a grid, that could help us look at the horizon. Anti-flicker, if you live in the US, if you have that set for 60 hertz, a TV or a light or something that may flicker due to the AC power. 60 hertz is the frequency of our AC power here, and that just puts a filter on it that gets rid of the flicker. You can put it in auto, or if you're over in Europe, you may use 50 hertz. MP format, or excuse me, video format, so it doesn't really matter. These are just the containers. If you're an Apple user, you're probably going to use a movie file, because that's the container that QuickTime usually uses, and MP4 if you're a PC user. Those are typically what you're going to do, but you can use either or depending on what software you're using. NTSC PAL. NTSC is what we use in the US. PAL is what they use over in Europe and some other places. If I wanted to reset to default settings, I could click there, and that would reset everything back. And I can also format my SD card from here. Other things I have on here, that's pretty good. Let's get rid of that. And this right here is our advanced window. Now here you can control the ISO speed of the film, or digital camera in this case, the shutter speed, and this also gives you a representation of your exposure correction. So you can adjust these either on the touch screen, or if you push in on your little wheel, you can see it goes between ISO and shutter, so I can do that without touching the screen if I'm just flying. So this is great. You basically have a full manual control of the camera up to a certain point. Let me go and see how long I can do an 8-second exposure at 100 ISO. Will it let me do that at all? Yep, so I can do 8-second exposures. That's pretty fantastic. As you can see, that's way overexposed. Look at my histogram here. You'll see it start to come down. That looks pretty good. And I can turn off my advanced mode, and it's going to go right back to auto. But I can still do exposure corrections. And this button right here switches between your camera and video. And you have buttons to take video or camera shots on your controller, or you can do it here. I can just hit the button. Now that was an auto exposure bracketed photo. I just took 3 photos at different exposure levels, and I'll show you how you can set that up. Instead of just pushing that button, you hold it down, and that's going to give you all these options right here. This is auto exposure bracketing, and it's an AEB triple shot. I could do it to a 5-shot. I could do standard triple shots, so this is like a burst mode. HDR, this is just a high dynamic range shot. I think it just probably turns up the saturation a little bit. I haven't messed with it that much, but if you really want to do true HDR, you're gonna do that manually. You can set up a timer, and then you can set it up for just regular single shots. So it took me a while to figure out how to do that, because I didn't find that in the manual. And then finally, if I want to take a picture or video, I can review it by either hitting the play button here or the play button on my controller. And there is my picture that I took. And it also will play back movies if I took movies. So I can delete these off the SD card. Go back. And let's do a movie. I can either switch it to movie mode, or from camera mode, I can hit the record movie button on my controller. Either way, it's gonna do what I want it to do. And we can go review that. There we are, it played it back. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, what else do we have? Now let's talk about advanced settings. Enable multiple flight mode. When you first get your unit, that's going to be turned off, and it's only going to let you fly in GPS mode. If you turn this on, this will allow you to fly in the other modes, including intelligent orientation control and attitude mode, which is flying without the GPS. Fail-safe mode, you can set your go home altitude. When your Phantom 3 loses your signal, you can either make it land in place or you can make it return to home. And this is two other great things on here that I'm so glad that they've incorporated. You can turn off the forward arm LED lights. So this is the forward position lights. Your aircraft status lights in the rear remain on to let you know what's going on. But with those forward lights, if you're taking a night shot, the color that comes off of those lights will interfere with your shot, especially if it's a long exposure shot. So by turning those off and on, you can see there on the bottom of the screen how the light's reflecting off my table. That's fantastic that you can do that. It's awesome. And the vision positioning system, which is the ultrasonic and camera sensor. I have it turned off because I fly over water a lot, and I maybe fly over some objects that could interfere with a VPS. Again, this is so nice that DJI lets you turn this off. So unless you're flying indoors or don't have a GPS lock, you might want to leave that off. Or if you're flying inside, sure, turn it on. But again, I fly over water a lot, and I don't want to risk having any control problems, so I have it turned off. This graph here shows the angle of the gimbal, what it's doing. All right, one other thing we'll talk about is intelligent orientation control. So go to your quadcopter controller screen, go to advanced settings, and make sure IOC, intelligent orientation control, is enabled. And then flick your control switch all the way to the left, and that will bring up your IOC settings screen. Now, in the documentation, DJI said that there's going to be several different modes of intelligent orientation control. As of today, the only one that is on here is orientation lock, so hopefully the other ones will come. Now with orientation lock, once this is active, from this point on, or later on if you hit reset, whenever you hit reset or you enable this mode, whichever direction the nose is pointing, that will become forward, and it will always be forward from that point on until you turn intelligent orientation control off. So if I push it forward, if I push the right stick forward, the aircraft is always going to go in the direction that that nose is pointing right now, this second. Even if you turn it 90 degrees to the right, if you push it forward, it's going to act as if it was pointing the way it was when you initially turned on intelligent orientation control. Alright, so some other things here. Let's go ahead and hit the home button. On my user center, I don't have any albums stored currently, but these buttons here, I can use. This is my account. I could also go to the store, and I can also view some of my flights. And if I go on here and review my flight, it's going to give me a playback of the flights that I accomplished. Okay, so that's brought up my flights, this particular flight. And the neat thing is, it has little icons that show the different places where I took pictures. And I've already erased the pictures from storage on this device, but if I clicked on them here, it would have brought up the pictures had I not erased them. I can play back that flight, and I can speed it up. And here it's telling me what the condition was. Motor started. It would show if I changed modes or whatever I did. Well, thanks for watching. I hope I answered some of your questions, and now you have an idea about how to change some of the settings and what everything does in the DJI Pilot app. I hope you guys have a great time flying, and we'll see you out there.